Hi everybody, welcome to week 3. I am joined by my daughter Penny, who's in the room with me, so if you hear any noise of her playing, that's perfectly fine. But so a few things. I've been sick, my kids have been sick, we've been recovering, you can probably hear it in my voice, so bear with me as I try to get to your grading the essays in the next couple of days. Hopefully I can get to it early in the week, no problem, but the end of last week was bad for me and my girls, and so it's just a bit of a recovery, and the last 2 days in particular I've been pretty sick, but doing a little bit better now. So again, we are in week 3, which is the start of Essay 2. Now Essay 2 is actually due in week 4, so you're basically starting things. It's not as sort of compressed as the previous essay. You have a little bit more time to work and build, but it is a bit of a bigger essay. So we're jumping to 1,300 words. We're going to be incorporating sources, all these things. You're now, it's a little bit more complex. We were defining something before, now we're making an argument. It's an argumentative essay. So a couple of things, the topic is the importance of names. You can see the specifics about that, and if you have any questions, hopefully they'll be answered in the course shell. So again, we're gonna focus this week a little bit on your introduction and your thesis, right? So that's that inverted triangle. If you think of your paper, inverted triangle, square blocks, triangle pointing the other way. So your thesis is at the end of that, and here at the bottom, and everything. I'm in my head, I'm visualizing these blocks. I know you guys aren't, but you'll see some examples of these things throughout the lectures and things this week. So you have in that triangle, hook, whatever you use, it's a quote, it's a question, it's an interesting statistic or piece of information, maybe a personal story. The context is next on that. We're going down hook, context, background and then context. So basically background and then context is how you bring it, transition it into what your actual thesis is. And your thesis is that bottom point that is your definitive statement on what your essay is about. And little things, they'll be like, my essay is about such and such. Just tell me what your point is. I know it's an essay. You don't need to say, this is an essay. Most of you have done good in that so far. I haven't, again, reviewed the first full essay, but when I read your thesis, I think you had good ideas. You needed to work on clarity in some instances and structure in other instances, but a lot of good ideas on the stuff I looked at last time in the discussions. So you're gonna do reading annotation. You'll see a video by Professor Bridges that has a lot of the nuts and bolts. She refers to some specific dates that don't apply to this class, but it's due in the middle of the week. So that first assignment is the annotation assignment, so make sure you get that up by Wednesday. And it's all part of active reading to help you be a better reader, and which will improve your writing. I had a writing teacher in grad school. My background's in creative writing, and he would always say, good writers are readers. So you should be reading, and at this class, there's some things to read and sort of help you learn a bit about how to read in a more engaged way. So finally, this is Penny saying hello. So an argumentative thesis. So the reason the word argument is a thing and exists, if you think about when you argue, you maybe, quote, fight with someone to make a point. And in this case, you are arguing your point. You are defending your position. So you have a position. Like I used that example last time. And Penny's a big fan of this cartoon, so it's a good starting point. So the X-Men cartoon, right? You love this cartoon, Penny, right? You love the Dark Phoenix story, right? The Wolverine toy. So if I made that thesis where I say, this is the best cartoon ever because it has good writing, good characters, and good animation, right? That's my thesis if I wrote a paper about this cartoon and she's showing you the Wolverine action figure. If I wrote that as my thesis and part of my paper, right? Maybe my hook would be how I first watched this as a kid. The background might be a little bit of context. How the background would be, I used to record it for my oldest brother, which I really did. I was 10 years old when this was a new show in the early 1990s, and I recorded it for my brother who was like 10 years older than me, and he would watch the X-Men cartoon when he came back from work, and he was in college at the time, and I was like a little kid. And then the context might be some information about the show sort of culturally, and then my thesis, which I've already stated, is it is the best show and why it's the best show. So then my paper would be essentially chunks of your paragraphs, ideally 11 sentences that would defend that point, make that point. And then maybe even as you get more complex, understand why someone might disagree. They might say, well, I don't think the animation is great. So you would have a section addressing any potential counterclaims to make it sound a little bit legal. So that's just, again, using this totally random example from a box for a toy that looks like a video cassette tape. But that is what we're doing this week. So an argumentative thesis, it's a claim that someone can agree or disagree with. And Penny and I both agree that we love X-Men, right? And that's what you got going on this week. The thesis is due. It's similar to what we did last week, where it's due Wednesday and then respond to somebody else after that by Sunday. So essentially what we're doing is the same thing, except the essay is just more spread out. It's a bit more of a complex essay, so you'll need a little more time for it. It's okay. The toy fell down, but that's okay. So thank you. I will see you guys on the course shell. Bye.